What is up, everybody? J Nell here with my UFC 199 prediction video happening this Saturday, and I'm super excited for it because the card is so stacked. I wanted to call everything, but I learned my lesson from last time from making 8 picks and only getting 3, so I'm only going to make 6 picks. Now, first off, the prelims, one of my guys to watch is Brian Ortega, and I'm choosing him to beat Clay Guida. Onto the main card, I'm choosing Dustin Poirier to beat Bobby Green. I am choosing Hector Lombard to beat Dan Henderson. And just real quick, UFC, why are you doing this to Dan Henderson? What did he do to you? No offense to disrespect to Dan Henderson. He is a living legend, but I don't think at 45 he's going to be competing for the belt. Whereas Hector Lombard, who I think is like 37, 38, but is in different shape physically, can still challenge for a championship shot. So you can give Dan Henderson prize fights, let him make his money, but why are you feeding him to Hector Lombard? He's been knocked out 2 out of his last 3 fights. I mean, yes, if he survives the first round, he could possibly use his wrestling and cardio to possibly get a second and third because Hector will gas, but that's a big if. I just don't think this fight is necessary to do to Dan Henderson. He's a legend. Okay. I hope I lose that pick. Next up, I'm excited for this fight. Ricardo Lamas versus my boy, Max Holloway. I think they're both ranked in the top 5, possibly top 7. Max is like ranked number 3, I believe, in that featherweight division that's kind of been turned on its head right now. So Ricardo Lamas, of course, has the wrestling base. He's also a black belt in jiu-jitsu and uses it very well. Ricardo is a smart fighter, a cerebral fighter. He adjusts well within the ring. He has that long reach, although I do believe Max has the reach advantage. He might be a bit thicker, but I don't know because Max has been putting on weight. But I think his wrestling base will give him that functional strength. So if I had to pick who would be stronger, I would say that it's probably going to be Ricardo Lamas. If they get up against, especially if they get up against the cage, actually, if he gets his hands on him, that's probably his best bet to get close quarters with Max because Max is the superior striker. Max is a hybrid. He's not an MMA striker. He's more of a boxer. He has footwork like a boxer. He uses angles and jabs and things more like a boxer. So his striking is actually superior to most of the MMA fighters in the UFC, actually, and that's why I love him. He's more unique. He's a unique striker. He'll give you 9, 10 shot combinations with some kicks and some elbows included, and not at the end. He mixes it up like that in the angles. He's so slick, just slipping shots. He doesn't have to use all of that. They're both really tough, really durable. Ricardo's very tough, really durable. He has very smart submissions, but so does Max. Max, I believe, is a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. They're both smart fighters. They're both going to have to adjust in the octagon. I'm not quite sure if we're going to see a KO or an early finish. I think this will most likely go all 3 rounds. So it's going to be the smarter fighter who makes the better shot selection, who doesn't take the worst risk. They're both going to have to be here. You know, Max is my boy. He's my boy. Plus, he's the more unique fighter, and I tend to lean towards the more unique fighters. Also, I didn't realize he's my boy. He's on an 8-fight winning streak. Okay, so I'm going to rant just a tiny bit right now. He's on an 8-fight winning streak, and we're not talking about bums here. We're talking about Cub Swanson, Charles Oliveira, Jeremy Stevens, who just beat Renan Barão, okay? So he's on an 8-fight winning streak, and if he beats Ricardo Lamas, that should be the automatic title shot. It should be, but it probably won't be, because the division's been turned on its head. And I'm not blaming Conor McGregor, because again, like I've always said, Conor McGregor can only do what the UFC allows him to do. So the UFC has turned the featherweight division on its head. It's at a standstill. You got Jose and Edgar fighting for an interim belt. Then you have Conor supposedly fighting Diaz. Diaz has not signed on the dotted line because he wants more money. And what happens if Conor beats him? Does he stay up? Do we strip him of the belt? What happens if Conor loses? Does he still want another shot trying to get that win back, or do we strip him of his belt? Does he move back down? What happens? I don't know. But what I do know is if Max beats Ricardo Lamas, he should get a title shot, but he probably won't. Boils my blood just a little bit, but I'm going for my boy, Max Holloway. All right, on to the co-main event, and we have the UFC Bantamweight champion, another one of my boys, Dominic the Dominator Cruz, facing probably his biggest rivalry, his arch nemesis, the California Kid, Urijah Faber, who I like as well. I like both of these men. I like both of these men inside the octagon and actually outside as well. They're both great businessmen. They're both, I would listen to them lecture, you know what I mean? I'd like to pick their brains. So I like both of them as fighters and as men, as businessmen, as people, as family guys. So it's kind of hard to pick between them. I love the rivalry. I love that they both have one apiece. Urijah Faber, he's got that wrestling background. I think he's also a black belt in jiu-jitsu as well. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. A very smart fighter. Also can make adjustments in the octagon. Sometimes starts a little slow, just a little bit. Sometimes it seems like he has to get adjusted. You have fighters sometimes who shouldn't do as well against Urijah. Sometimes he'll still beat him, like that Frankie Sands fight. Not to take anything away from Frankie, but I felt like Urijah should have done better against him. So sometimes that happens. Now emotionally, I know that he's going to be training for this probably harder than any fight ever, just because he hates Dom so much. This is like, I want to say like a 6-year rivalry, it's like a 10-year rivalry, y'all. This might be the longest rivalry in the UFC, which is amazing. So I'm really glad we're finally getting this rubber match here. You have Dominic Cruz, who I believe he also has a belt in jiu-jitsu as well, but he's just known for his incredible movement. He changed the game. He changed the game like 6 years ago before he got hurt, with his movement, with that footwork, with his angles, with the way he holds his head placement, just how smart he is. He baits you into bad movement. He doesn't just bait you into his guard or something like that. He baits you into bad movement, into bad shot selection. He puzzles his opponents. He stalled out TJ Dillashaw several times, just kind of stalled him out because his movement is so unique. I love Dominic Cruz's mind. If you've heard me before, you know I love Dominic Cruz. I find him so inspiring, for him to go through everything he's gone through, come back just as mentally strong with no ring rust. I like listen to every interview I can, so my biasness is showing a bit, but also really I think he's that unique. I think he's that mentally strong. They're both mentally strong, but if one of them's going to be emotional, I would say it's going to be Urijah, just because Dominic has bested him with the gift of the gab several times. So, but who knows? Who knows? But I am going to stick with the champ and still Dominic Cruz. But I think it should be a great fight. Great fight. Main event, and we're seeing the UFC middleweight champion Luke Rockhold take on Michael Bisping, the last-minute replacement, because Chris Weidman, I don't know if he's having surgery or if he's just rehabbing the injury, but he is injured. Now, I'm just happy Michael Bisping is finally getting this shot, even though if you saw my video, I didn't think he beat Anderson Silva, but I'm actually glad he's finally getting this shot because he's been screwed twice before. He beat Chael Sonnen. Long years ago, he beat Chael Sonnen, but everybody wanted to see that rematch with Anderson Silva, so he got a shaft on that one. I think there was also, he should have gotten it, but instead they fed him the Vitor Belfort and he got knocked out. So you know what? He's been a big promoter, a big name for the UFC. I hate to say this is a gimme, but it's short notice, so it's not like they're just giving him this fight with a full camp or anything. He's stepping in with 2 weeks notice. He was shooting a movie. He's not in fighting shape, so I mean, it's a heck of a shot, but he kind of earned it a few years ago. Michael Bisping, how can you win this fight? Because I think you're overmatched. I think you're overmatched physically by just someone who is kind of a freak of nature. Luke Rockhold is big. He's bigger than Chris Weidman, and Chris Weidman's big. He's got them big thighs. He's dynamic athletically. Dynamic. He actually does things you don't see men of his size do. This type of kicks with his kickboxing proficiency. He's also a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He has very slick submissions, and even though he has that frat boy attitude, he's actually a real smart fighter. He adjusts well on the fly. Everything he throws, he doesn't throw everything with everything, but he's such a power shot with, again, those tree trunk legs, just real big and strong. If he gets on top of you, he's like the mountain on top of you. You can't get him off. So I just think that he is physically dynamic, really athletic, and even if Michael Bisping was in his prime, I'm not quite sure that he can physically match up well against Luke Rockhold, especially now at 37 years old. Also, Michael Bisping, I think he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu as well. He's got that kickboxing as well. He's got great wrestling as well. He has great pace. I think he's going to have to use that pace, not only with smothering him with offense and trying to keep it close quarters. I don't think you want to give Luke space, but smother him with your offense. Keep a nice high pace. Keep a nice high pace with that mouth. Bisping does a little bit of the Diaz, but he doesn't do it throughout the entire fight. Conor McGregor does this too. There's very few fighters who literally talk to you throughout the entire fight. It can get inside your head, it can throw you off. That's how Diaz got Michael Johnson off his game. And I am actually advising Michael Bisping to talk. Talk to Luke Rockhold the moment that bell sounds to the moment the fight's over. Talk. Stay focused, stay active, stay busy. That's your best shot. Keep your head down. Luke Rockhold, like I said, with the kickboxing, with the black belt in jiu-jitsu, he's physically dynamic, just big and strong. Right now he's in the prime of his life, and I just think Michael Bisping is overmatched. That's not to say that he can't win, because underdogs win all the time, but I'm sticking with the champ, Luke Rockhold. Those are my picks. Let me know your picks, any injury updates. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where I will have 15-second prediction videos. Subscribe, like, talk to me, take care. Goodbye.